Without a doubt, the Xperia Z was one of the best smartphones that Sony has ever produced. This time around, they brought us this, the Xperia Z1. Now, according to Sony, this represents their significant milestone for continuing to deliver unforgettable experience to their consumers. But does the Z1 really deliver that unforgettable experience? I'm Jens Garcia from Tech for Geeks with a full review of the Sony Xperia Z1. The Xperia Z1 is inarguably one of the best looking smartphones in 2013. It does look very identical to the Xperia Z, but just with a few minor changes. It weighs slightly heavier as well than the Xperia Z at 170 grams, but that's where it starts when it comes to premium feel. The device is surrounded by a metal frame, which really makes the Z1 feel sturdy. However, the glass finish on the back is what always worries me. With that said, I love the feel of the phone, although for me it's still not the most comfortable phone to hold because of its boxy shape. It's a little big as well for a 5-inch device because of the spacing on the top and then on the bottom, but to be honest, that really didn't bother me at all. On the physical hardware, you have all the buttons, port, and slots around the sides of the phone, but there's one new addition, and that is the camera button. You will need to press it a little harder, which is a good sign of its sturdiness. No physical buttons as well, so that's a plus for me. Now, Sony suggests that the phone is water resistant over 1 meter for 30 minutes, and that's why all the sensitive hardware is covered. Now, after pouring some water to the phone, it was still very responsive, even the display was slightly wet, unlike the S4 Active that we reviewed last week. The Xperia Z1 has a brand new triluminous display with X Reality engine compared to the Bravia engine on the Xperia Z. It is still full HD display, so 1080p display with a pixel density of 441 ppi. While we're used to seeing small bezels on the latest smartphones like the G2 and the Note 3, the Xperia Z1 have slightly bigger bezels than the G2 and the Note 3, for example. It is a little disappointing for some of you, and especially to me as well, as reducing the bezels would have actually slimmed down the phone as well. With that said, the color reproduction on the display is superb. It has warm tone and more on the saturated side actually. Now, the amount of contrast is high, and which really makes the image look very sharp. It has a great black levels, but it doesn't have the same deep black levels on Super AMOLED displays. Now, just like the Xperia Z, the Z1 is still suffering the same issue, and that is the viewing angle. The display gets almost 70% washed out when you look on the sides, and that's probably one of the letdown with the display. There's also backlighting bleed when you look on the side of the display, and I guess that's why it gets washed out. With that said, I still had a great time with the media consumption, so I guess I can put the display into consideration. The Xperia Z1 is one of the latest flagship devices this year to launch with Qualcomm Snapdragon 800 processor, clocked in at 2.2 GHz, and Adreno 330 GPU, along with 2 GB of RAM. Basically, when you put this on your spec sheet, then you are getting the latest and the best. And with high-end devices like this, expect it to pack with some punch. The performance on the Z1 was very snappy, and switching to different applications is no problem. It switched back to the applications pretty quick, and since the operating system isn't heavily modified, it just helps the phone to run a lot smoother and faster. Gaming performance is superb as well on the Z1 thanks to the Adreno 330 GPU. You can pretty much play any graphic intensive games with the phone. The graphics are well detailed and the clarity is just spot on. It was smooth as well, especially when you play racing games where you will need higher frame rates for smooth gameplay. Speaking of performance, the 20 megapixel rear-facing camera on the Z1 is what Sony was highlighting when they launched the phone. It has an Exmor-R CMOS sensor with f2.0 aperture, which means more light will come into the lens. This was probably what I was looking forward to about this phone. Daylight performance is very impressive. The clarity and color replication is accurate. It's vibrant and violet look violet just as you would see it in person. As you probably see by now, these flowers just look well detailed. It has high contrast and the colors are very rich. What about the low light performance? Is it good? Is it bad? My best answer would be not so impressive. I noticed when taking photos in low light conditions can sometimes end up washed out or slightly saturated, or maybe a bit of both, I guess. After taking photos with the Note 3, I've got to say that the Note 3's low light performance is a lot better, and I mean better. Same issue when video recording. Speaking of video recording, it captures full HD videos, so that means 1920 by 1080. Now there's no optical image stabilization on the Z1, however it uses Bion's image engine, which improves the autofocus of the phone. Now the camera UI is actually really simple to use. You've got all the toggles on the screen, and then Sony has also included AR effect, which is an augmented reality effect that overlays on the image. And I find it fun to use, but this is something that I wouldn't use every day. Although for kids, then they would definitely enjoy this. Now I believe there's an update coming for the Z1 very soon, so hopefully that will fix all the issues. And yes, I have big hopes on the camera. Now since we're talking about the UI, we might as well talk about the operating system. Now this is running Android 4.2.2 Jelly Bean with Timescape UI, which is Sony's touch on the OS. And it's probably one of the lightest UI that I've used, and it welcomes you with these tiles and simply slide up or down to unlock the phone. Now there's not much really difference to be honest with this and the Xperia Z, as for the visuals anyway. Now not all applications work in Australia, like Track ID. And apart from that, as I've said, there aren't too many changes in the UI. You still get PlayStation Mobile and all the exclusive Sony applications. Now the UI is very snappy and fast multitasking experience. On to the connectivity now, it packs with all the latest wireless connectivities, which means this is compatible with AC enabled routers and also Cat4 LTE for faster data speed, but then obviously that depends on your carrier. Now it did experience a lot of Wi-Fi dropouts, which is a letdown, and also for some weird reason you actually have to tick the LTE box in the quick settings to enable the LTE mode, when one of the tech journalists actually told me about it, because usually you'll just have to go to your network mode in the mobile network settings and then change it from there. So yeah, I thought that was weird, but I thought I'd mention that. Now there is also a 3000 mAh of non-removable battery on the Z1, and depending on the type of user you are, for some of you it should be enough to get you through the day. Now on a super busy day for me, I was able to get over 8 hours with 23% battery remaining, and with that I have the data connection turned on, constantly using Facebook and Twitter, and I did watch a few videos as well and took some photos and recorded some videos. The Xperia Z1 may look slightly similar to the Xperia Z, but internally there is a lot to like about this phone. It's crafted very well, it has a great camera performance, although it can still be improved through updates. And it definitely packs a lot of punch. Now if you're using the Xperia Z and thinking of upgrading to the Z1, then it definitely is a big upgrade, or if you're not, then you might want to wait for now unless you really care about the fact that it's a waterproof device. With that said, the Xperia Z1 is a great phone, but not really unforgettable. So there you have it, that's our full review of the Sony Xperia Z1. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook if you want to be social with us. And as always, I'm Jens Garcia from Tech for Geeks, and I'll see you all in the next one.